like to yield now to my friend, my colleague, the person in this Congress who I know, Mr. Speaker, the person I know who really indeed is the conscience of the Congress, the gentlelady from Maryland, Ms. Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and from Ohio, from keeping our focus on working people and on the struggles of working people, particularly in this environment, this recession, coming out of this recession, people who've lost their jobs, people who need unemployment. Last week, Madam Speaker, I had the privilege of meeting Louise Strong. She's one of these women who represents workers all across this country. She's a constituent in my congressional district in Maryland. She's unjustly suffering from the loss of her unemployment benefits. Louise told me that after 28 years, she lost her full-time job with the Marriott Corporation in October 2008. She was then offered a temporary position, but it only lasted 4 months. For the first time in almost 30 years, I think since she was a teenager, Louise was unemployed and began receiving unemployment insurance. Since then, Louise has fought tirelessly to get a job, sending out hundreds of resumes, filling out countless job applications. And over a year later, she's still without work. And since June, she's no longer receiving her unemployment benefits, benefits that she's entitled to as a working person. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, as of 6 o'clock this evening, I looked at the counter like Americans can do across this country. Just go online. 2,645,088 Americans as of 6 o'clock this evening, including more than 12,000 from my home state of Maryland, joined Louise in losing their unemployment benefits. Right now, 16 million Americans are out of work, and almost 50% have been out of work for 6 months. These are Americans who've spent their entire lives working. They're Americans who want to work, who are out every single day looking for opportunities to work. They are not lazy, they're not shiftless, and they won't become lazy by receiving unemployment benefits. The misperception about unemployment is great, but unemployment is insurance. Take Louise. Louise paid into the Unemployment Insurance Compensation Fund for 28 years, and now she wants to draw on the insurance that she's paid into. Americans understand that. It's an insurance fund. People draw on it. And you know what they're doing with that unemployment, Mr. Speaker? They're buying eggs and bread and cereal. They're paying their rent and their mortgage. They're taking care of their children. They're paying their utility bills. It's money that's going directly back into the economy. Now, Republicans in both chambers, especially these days in the United States Senate, are keeping busy by arguing that we neither have the resources nor sufficient reason to extend unemployment benefits to these hardworking Americans like Louise Strong. The fiscal resources, they argue, would contribute to the deficit, and that's something they ideologically cannot allow. Well, I tell you, when you have to put food on the table, it's not about ideology. It's about being able to go to the grocery store. And they'd know this if they went into the grocery store. And you see every single day, like Mr. McDermott mentioned from Washington, our colleague, that when you go into the grocery store, people are stopping us and they're saying, why can't you just extend unemployment benefits? I worked for this. And yet, if you believe the quotes from members of the Republican Party, they're willing to support tax cuts for the wealthiest of Americans, regardless of their budget impact. They argue that, quote, Congress has the authority, and if we decide we want to cut taxes, we don't have to offset those costs for extending tax cuts to the wealthiest Americans. They won't offset $680 million in tax cuts for people with incomes over $1.5 million a year. This is really shameless because they can't find the heart or the will to extend unemployment benefits for the 2,644,088 Americans who are seeking unemployment benefits. Shame on them. Shame on them for not extending unemployment benefits. And Americans are smart enough to realize the duplicity in these kind of tactics. They understand the difference between providing meaningful economic solutions and playing off of fears about a rising deficit. The budget impacts of extending tax cuts far outweigh the cost of extending unemployment benefits. Unemployment benefits go right back into the economy. Senate Republicans aren't concerned at all about the deficit. That's just their shameless politics and needs to stop because it's being done off the backs of hardworking Americans. And so there's a fundamental difference that we're fighting for, and it's one that's worth fighting for. We're fighting. And Democrats in Congress know that for every dollar invested in unemployment benefits, the economy gets $1.50 back. That's a 150% return on our investment for extending unemployment benefits. This is smart, especially at this time when so many Americans are out of work. And so, Mr. Speaker, it's time to stop holding hostage workers laid off in this recession and the political tactics to do what's right for the middle class and not the wealthiest of Americans. It's time to stop blocking emergency relief for those who are out of work and extend unemployment benefits so that Americans who've worked all their lives, like Louise Strong, can get the benefit of the doubt, the benefit of the bargain of what they put into the unemployment compensation fund. People want to work. Unemployment insurance is the bridge that gets them there while our country gets strong. And it's time to extend that bridge to help Americans get back to work. Thank you, Madam Speaker and Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentlewoman from Ohio for making sure that we keep our eyes on the prize for working Americans. And with that, I yield.
Thank you very much. I just want to say to my colleague, the point you made is so very important. These are people who have been tax-paying, law-abiding citizens of this country. I just wonder, how do people sleep at night? If they want to pull the safety net, the rug out from under people who have always been a part of this nation's wealth, why do you now say that they are hobos or they are lazy when they have worked and earned everything they have ever received? I just don't understand how we can now say to these same people who we applauded when they had a job every day that we no longer care about you anymore. And I just thank you for making clear that these are people who have paid into this fund. It's not a gift. It's something they've earned, and I thank you so much for that.